Exclusive contract from Feilu Novel Network Novel. Mercenaries. Start with an armed group in northern Myanmar. Lin Xiao unexpectedly travels to the world of special forces and becomes the leader of the Sea Shark mercenary armed group. The good times didn't last long, and a group of dragon people who were scammed by telecommunications went missing in northern Myanmar, which immediately led the domestic atmosphere and public opinion to focus their attention on northern Myanmar. And Lin Xiao also became the target of public criticism, with his astonishing identity gradually exposed. In this complex environment, Lin Xiao made a bold decision. Fan Tianlei said, "I never dreamed that I would collude with the enemy, betray the country, and be imprisoned." Zhuang Yan. Lin Xiao said, "As long as I become a mercenary, my annual salary will be 1 million. Long Xiaoyun said, "Only the strongest man can become my husband." K2 Black Cat. Happy cooperation. When the business covers global security, the arms business spreads globally, and fully armed mercenaries appear in public view, people are shocked by Lin Xiao's true identity. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Lone Wolf Group B, Depart North Burma. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Parallel World, Blue Star. Langia Special Operations Brigade and Langia Special Operations Base of Yenghua Southeast Military Region. At this moment, on a simulated training ground for rescuing hostages, members of Lone Wolf Group B are engaged in a fierce gunfight with armed militants disguised as special forces from the Special Forces Brigade. Bang bang bang. Da da da. Call the Siberian Wolf, call the Siberian Wolf, come on. Old Pao's forehead was filled with tiny beads of sweat, and he shouted after killing the criminal. Received, received. Hiss, dang dang dang. In an instant, as the electrical noise in the walkie-talkie rang out, a Special Forces soldier dressed in military green camouflage rushed out. Come on. The old cannon is close to the wall, with slightly bent legs and hands held up on one side of the thigh. And as Zhuang Yan took a swift step and stepped on Lao Pao's hands with his right foot, Lao Pao gritted his teeth and forcefully lifted him up. Pop. The 3-meter-high wall was virtually non-existent, and Zhuang Yan stepped in and flipped down from the window. Bang, bang, bang. At the moment of entering the room and landing, Zhuang Yan's finger had already been placed on the trigger position, accurately targeting the 3 criminals in the room who had not yet reacted. And a female hostage's mouth and body were wrapped in bandages, making a whimpering sound in her mouth. Okay, Violet. I didn't expect that you, the team flower of the Fire Phoenix, would be lured by the Golden Eagle to become a hostage. You're really a genius. Zhuang Yan joked and quickly dismantled the rope that bound and ran, and took out a remote control of about 5 centimeters from inside. There was a red dot on top, and Zhuang Yan pressed it down without hesitation. Lone Wolf Group B successfully rescued the hostages in 13 minutes and 56 seconds. At the moment of pressing, the military director's office simultaneously uses 3 amplifiers to notify the battlefield. The other members of the Lone Wolf B group who were still at war, as well as the criminals, also stopped their tense movements one by one. Xiao Zhuang, when you're not talking, you look like a good man. With just this mouth, it turns sour with just one bite. And Ran moved her red wrist for a moment, and after giving Zhuang Yan a white look, she smiled and said, "All right, Violet, I have to go gather now." Zhuang Yan saw through the window that the members of Group A, B, and C of the Lone Wolf Squadron downstairs had gathered one after another. "Qiangzi, your gamma-ray technique is really ruthless. Do you really treat me as a criminal?" "Okay, old fox. A mature sniper has a shooting interval of about 3 seconds, so you should have 2.5 seconds. Lao Pao, if you don't speak of Wu De's sneak attack from behind, otherwise Zhuang Yan wouldn't have rescued the hostages so quickly." "Serious, I'm not happy if you say that." What is a sneak attack? It's called a tactical detour. Don't forget, the Siberian wolves are the first attackers of our lone wolf squadron. By the way, where's that kid Zhuang Yan? Both sides of this exercise. One side is responsible for rescuing hostages, which is the ABC team of the lone wolf squadron. On the other hand, the one responsible for pretending to be a criminal is the Thunderbolt assault team, which is known as the sharpening stone of the foreign army. Here we go. Just as everyone was wondering and muttering about the meritorious performance this time, Zhuang Yan had just appeared. Return to the team. Fan Tianlei, the leader, shouted in a low voice. Yes. Zhuang Yan quickly returned to the team. Hey, we took less than 14 minutes, this time we probably won first, whispered the old cannon standing next to Zhuang Yan. Your door is open. Zhuang Yan stared straight ahead, muttering and squeezing out a few words. Lao Pao lowered his head to take a look. The zipper of the military pants was broken open. Realizing that no one noticed around, he immediately awkwardly pulled his pants. Alright, now I announce the results of the 3 groups of the Lone Wolf Squadron. Fan Tianlei held a list and shouted loudly, Lone Wolf Group A, it takes 16 minutes and 14 seconds. Lone Wolf Group B, it took 13 minutes and 56 seconds. Lone Wolf Group C, it took 17 minutes and 1 second. I declare that Lone Wolf Group B has won. Immediately after, the captain of the Lone Wolf Squadron, Gudalao Gao, walked out with a serious expression, holding a flag. Gung Jihui saluted him with a military salute, then took the flag from Gudalao Gao's hand and faced the crowd. Pop pop pop. After Fan Tianlei announced his completion, the captain of the Thunderbolt assault team, Lei Zhan, applauded the next second, followed by thunderous applause from the whole audience. The members of Lone Wolf Group B pretended to be calm, but their eyes couldn't conceal the joy and pride, and the feeling of being praised by the stars. This time, we also want to thank the Thunderbolt assault team for their cooperation. This exercise can be said to have achieved a complete success. However, there are still many shortcomings. Fan Tianlei began his endless speech. Everyone listened in a state of boredom, feeling somewhat listless. They all knew that the chief of staff liked to talk big, so when he spoke, he usually went in one ear and out the other. Alright, Group A and Group C are disbanded in place, while Group B remains. I don't know how long it took until Gudalao Gao spoke up, everyone finally came to their senses. Hey, bald-tailed wolf, you said we should stay. Is there still a reward? The chief of staff must be afraid that Group A and Group C might accuse him of favoritism, so he deliberately asked us to stay. The ostrich, who served as a sniper, asked in a low, enthusiastic voice. Come on, just our chief of staff, and we'll give rewards. Last time during the live fire drill, I accidentally stepped on the tripod of the sniper rifle. Our chief of staff gave me a tough training session. 2 words describe our chief of staff as stingy. By the way, I heard that the informant our chief of staff planted last time died again. Which line are you talking about? Our chief of staff's informant has gone crazy. There are several high-risk professions in Yanguo now. They are doctors, journalists, coal miners, and there is another type of informant who serves as our chief of staff. What are you muttering about? Gudalao Gao frowned and walked over, hitting the brim of the ostrich military hat at the front, and the two of them immediately became honest. In the face of serious discipline, this group of soldiers retained their lively side. This is also one of the combat characteristics of the Lone Wolf Assault Team. Chief of Staff, if you have anything, just say it, Gung Jihui said. Fan Tianlei glanced at the members of Lone Wolf Group B and immediately gave a meaningful smile. Do you know why I organized this hostage rescue exercise? After hearing this, the members of Lone Wolf Group B looked at each other with big eyes and small eyes. Alright, I won't beat around the bush with you either. Fan Tianlei turned his hands behind his back and suddenly looked serious. Received notification from the higher authorities. The winner of this event is about to enter North Burma in a special capacity to carry out rescue missions. What? Going to North Burma? Upon hearing this, all members of Lone Wolf Group B were surprised. Chapter 2. Lin Xiao's Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. North Myanmar is the largest no-matter region in Yazhou after the Yangtze River Delta. This is filled with drug trade, arms trade, telecommunications fraud, and various military independent private armed areas that exist in the form of mercenaries. Some people describe the triangle as belonging to the era of warlords and drugs. So northern Myanmar is a chaotic paradise. Because here, not only are there 4 major families that have been entrenched in the Guamin party and have been rooted in northern Myanmar for hundreds of years. At the same time, it also gathered countless people licking blood on the blade. International recidivists, drug tycoons, private arms dealers who have been on the run for many years, and even armed groups that can confront the military. All countries know about it. Here, it is much more dangerous than the triangle. In a luxurious office. Boss, I heard that the people of Yenghua are coming, a tall white man respectfully asked. Lin Xiao flicked the cigarette ash, his face expressionless, and his thoughts drifted back to the past. Yenghua. That is his hometown from the previous life. He is a traveler. He was a psychology expert in his past life, but later passed away unexpectedly due to an experiment and traveled to this world. With his ruthless and exceptional psychological talent, Lin Xiao quickly gained fame and formed his own armed force named after his own code name. Sea Shark Armed Group. Boss, the situation in northern Myanmar is so complex now, and it is estimated that the fat of electricity fraud cannot continue to be eaten. Do the people of Yen country want to take this opportunity to stand up and raise the flag? After all, their current military strength is second only to M country. The white mercenary codenamed Electric Eel asked anxiously. I don't know. Lin Xiao's sharp and angular profile, lightly uttering 2 words. They don't appreciate this slap-sized place. The Electric Eel was still very puzzled and said, Boss, what are they doing here? A group of dragon people were scammed here by telecommunications, so the southeast military region of Yenghua dispatched a special force to rescue the hostages. Lin Xiao said slowly. The person I am in contact with seems to be a considerable official in the Dragon Kingdom Army. Colonel rank. What is the unit called? The Wolf Tooth Special Operations Brigade. According to the other party's tone, he holds the military position of Chief of Staff inside. Boss, do we really need to help them? Helping them is equivalent to forming a grudge against those people from the Henry Art Troop. In the past 2 years, they have accumulated huge wealth through telecommunications fraud and trafficking of human organs, with the vast majority used to purchase weapons and expand personnel. Now their power is almost on par with ours. The white man spoke in a very dissatisfied tone. Lin Xiao smiled and said, I have already promised the people of Yen country. Besides, why not help? Helping the most powerful military country in Yazhou is also beneficial for us. Lin Xiao's eyes narrowed slightly, and a faint murderous aura emerged. Everyone at this time doesn't know. This is just a game set up by oneself. Watching Lin Xiao's ghostly smile, the Electric Eel froze for a moment, and then suddenly realized, with a joyful expression on its face, Boss. Are you trying to borrow their hand? To destroy the Henry Art Troop. Alright, tomorrow the special forces of Yen Guo will take the first flight to northern Myanmar. Notify the people below to be prepared. Lin Xiao lowered his head and glanced at his watch. Adults never answer people's questions directly. Sometimes if you don't answer, you just answer. The Henry Art Troop has indeed expanded in the past 2 years, even affecting the leading position of the Sea Shark armed group in the northern region of Myanmar. Lin Xiao has long wanted to find an opportunity to eradicate them. And were those dragon people really captured by the Henry Art Troop? I'm afraid only Lin Xiao can answer this question. Buzzing, in the sky, a passenger plane carrying military logos rumbled. This time, in addition to dispatching the main force of the Lone Wolf Assault Team, Lone Wolf Group B, the Langya Special Operations Brigade was also equipped with 2 mobile support units, totaling 80 combat personnel. Due to international principles and considerations of position, all military officers at or above the school level of Yanghua did not intervene, and even the leader of the Lone Wolf Assault Team, the high school team, did not participate in this operation. The only frontline commander is Gung Jihue, the leader of Lone Wolf Group B. Zhuang Yan looked through the machine window and saw the newborn sun slowly rising from the clouds. But his mind kept recalling the intelligence analysis that Fan Tianlei had done in the command room before. Lin Xiao, from Yen country, his age is similar to yours. But this person is the leader of the largest local snake, the Sea Shark armed group, in the area we are about to go to. It is also the existence of the 5th giant in the entire northern region of Myanmar. Apart from the 4 major families, the Sea Shark Mercenary armed group was established 5 years ago and currently ranks 15th on the international mercenary rankings. The group has around 300 members and they monopolize all local economic activities, even the military has no way to deal with them. I have already told their leader that they will cooperate with your military actions. Remember, this is overseas, don't be impulsive. As long as these mercenaries do not interfere with our actions, even if they kill under your nose, you cannot control them. Listen to me clearly. Fan Tianlei frowned and solemnly inspected the group of special forces soldiers with camouflage paint on their faces, saying in a deep voice, Sea Shark, being able to reach this level under the noses of the 4 major families, is definitely not an ordinary character. Warning you, if you provoke the Sea Shark, you will bear all the consequences on your own. I can make it clear that the country and the military will not posthumously award you the title of martyr at this point. Fan Tianlei's face softened slightly, and he quickly tapped the electronic warfare screen with his baton. Besides the Sea Shark armed group, according to reliable intelligence, that is the purpose of our operation. The Henry Art Troop has approximately 50 hostages from our country who were scammed by telecommunications and sent to northern Myanmar. The Sea Shark armed group will provide corresponding assistance, and we hope you can cooperate well. Lin Xiao. Almost as old as us, has he already become the leader of this level of armed group? Also, since he is from Yanghua, how could he go to northern Myanmar to become a mercenary? Zhuang Yan looked out of the window absent-mindedly, muttering to himself. In Chapter 3, there was a trick. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xiao Zhuang, what are you doing? At this moment, Lao Pao walked over with suspicion. Oh, it's okay. Zhuang Yan smiled at him, but paused and furrowed his brow, saying, Old Canon. This North Burma operation. I always feel like something's wrong. Nonsense. Lao Pao sat casually beside Zhuang Yan, extending 2 fingers, a sea shark, born as a mercenary. A Henry Art Troop, an organization that makes a living through telecommunications fraud and the sale of human organs, with thousands of elite armed men under its command. These 2 are not good birds. But after a pause, Lao Pao suddenly looked up and said, We are lonely wolves. Oh, no, it should be said that we are the entire Langya Special Operations Brigade. We are all the first special forces to go abroad for combat. In short, we cannot embarrass the country and the people. Zhuang Yan pursed his lips and nodded, then instinctively clenched his hands on his thighs. Definitely. We must bring glory to our motherland. But Xiaozhuang, it's agreed that we will all come back alive. Lao Pao looked at Zhuang Yan, who was a bit nervous, and solemnly extended his hand. Okay. Xiaozhuang nodded heavily and chuckled lightly. Pop. Immediately, the 2 big hands tightly clenched together. Coordinates, North Myanmar Watanabe Airport. Ha. Don't even mention it, although the forces here are intricate and complex, the air is still quite fresh. Deng Zhenhua, who came from a paratrooper background and was codenamed Ostrich, took a fierce breath and immediately exhaled vigorously. He is the second-ranked sniper in Lone Wolf Group B, and there is no doubt that the special forces who can go abroad for combat are among the elite. Ostrich, your mentality worries me a lot. We're not here for tourism, but to shoulder important tasks. Commander Gung Jihui frowned and glanced at the Ostrich, then quickly looked behind him. The remaining cooperative mobile units have also disembarked. At this moment, a burst of sighs and boos suddenly erupted in the crowd. Look. Good guy, a vast poppy patch. Really, it's too arrogant. They even planted opium at the airport. Is this the territory of the sea shark? Nonsense, who else can there be? The members of Group B, a group of lone wolves, looked with shock in their eyes, at the vast poppy fields that were about to mature and turn yellow in autumn. Xiao Zhuang and Lao Pao were equally shocked. They really didn't expect it. Sea sharks have gone crazy to this extent, even though they are internationally banned drugs, they are openly rampant here. As if to tell the world. This is my territory, I can do whatever I want. Alright, what are you staring at one by one? Let's gather. Looking at the poppy patch, Gung Jihui's eyes were filled with disdain, and deep down he even felt a little angry. But Gung Jihui is even more aware that this is not their territory, so it's better to do less than to do more. The troops quickly gathered to report the numbers, and in addition to the Special Forces members of Lone Wolf Group B, more than 50 members of the Cooperative Mobile Unit, including confidential clerks, also completed the counting one by one. Gung Jihui then lowered his head and glanced at his watch. Timber wolves, are we waiting here? This airport is too spacious and can easily be used as a living target. Out of the sharpness of the sniper, the ostrich looked around. Wait, the agreement is that Sea Shark will send someone to pick us up when we get off the airport. There are still 10 minutes left. Gung Jihui silently read the time displayed on his watch. It was frozen at 7:50. Buzzing, and soon, a series of side-by-side Hummer bulletproof cars came into their sight. It seems like it's coming. A group of soldiers looked sideways one after another. They are also curious about who the Sea Shark is. This Sea Shark is quite punctual. Gung Jihui playfully lowered his head and glanced at his watch. 800 yuan. But at this moment, Xiaozhuang looked at the dozens of Hummer cars and seemed to associate something with a sudden change in expression. No, it's not right. That's not the person of the Sea Shark. That's the local military armed forces, look. Their license plate colors and markings. Who else can there be a white and black border license plate starting with military A, besides being exclusive to the military? What? Everyone present was taken aback, some of whom had instinctively clenched their assault rifles in their hands. Due to the special nature of the action, only the Sea Shark himself knows about coming here. The only possibility of an army appearing is that the Sea Shark betrayed them. Bastard. I knew mercenaries couldn't be trusted, and the Chief of Staff is really someone who dares to cooperate with such people. Qiangzi cursed inwardly. The Burmese army didn't know we were here. It's broken, without heavy weapons and flat open land. Not to mention special forces, even if immortals come, it's difficult to save them. There's no cover here, and if they drive a vehicle and use machine guns to shoot, we'll definitely be live targets. Lao Pao frowned with a serious expression. This is terrible, it's like a box. Didn't the Chief of Staff say that even if something goes wrong, you can't be a martyr? Gudong. The ostrich rolled its Adam's apple and immediately shouted, Timber wolves, come up with a solution. Don't make any noise. Gung Jihui was equally atmospheric and didn't dare to breathe. He then looked ahead and raised his right hand, and let out a deep shout, prepare for battle. Kaka. At the same time, all members of the Special Forces team formed into rows of human walls, as if instinctively in their bodies. Black barrel after barrel aimed simultaneously at the oncoming convoy of cars. There is a posture of fish dying and a net broken. But at this moment, the leading vehicle suddenly stopped, and a white man in the passenger seat leaned out of the window. At the same time, he also held a weapon similar to a single-shoulder rocket launcher in his hand. The next second, a piercing sound came, and a visible shell with a red tail flew straight towards Lone Wolf Group B. Everyone was stunned. It could also be a panic. These experienced Special Forces soldiers. At this moment, I can't hear clearly whether this is an incendiary bomb, or armor-piercing bullets, or high-explosive shells. Because the sound of firing shells is really a bit strange. But as the commander, Gung Jihue was the first to react. His pupils suddenly contracted, as if he had used all his strength to expose his blue veins and roar out loud, "Lie down." Ignoring everything else, everyone was pulled back to reality by this sound, followed by a green figure lying down in all directions at the airport. In order to prevent vulnerable areas such as eyes and temples from being injured by high-speed splashing stones caused by the aftermath of the explosion, everyone tightly covers their heads with their arms and opens their mouths to prevent the eardrums from being punctured by the sound waves generated by the explosion. But strangely, after hitting the ground, the shell only rolled forward for a distance before stopping moving. After a few seconds of confusion, all the soldiers gathered their eyes towards the shell. Chapter 4. Strong dragons do not overcome local tigers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The blasting team. Gung Jihue shouted on the walkie-talkie. Subsequently, four bomb disposal experts from the Mobile Alliance slowly approached the shells with courage. Kaka. But halfway through, the tail of the unnamed projectile suddenly ignited gunpowder. Be careful. Gung Jihue and a group of soldiers immediately squatted down. In sight, after only a short second of firing the gunpowder, it seemed that the interior was ignited and the shell suddenly disintegrated. Then, like a bullet splitting apart, like a flower blooming, and even a burst of music came to mind. Wishing you all the blessings and longevity that align with the heavens, celebrating your happy birthday. Every year has its present day, every year has its present day. Is this? At this moment, all members of Lone Wolf Group B were stunned at the same time. After a brief moment of shock, there was a sudden anger. That's right. They were tricked by this group of mercenaries. Hey brother, welcome to come, this is a paradise of crime, northern Myanmar. Just as Zhuang Yan, Lao Pao, and Gung Jihue were angry, the electric eel walked over with open arms and corners of its mouth playfully. Are you people of the sea shark? What exactly does this mean? Thinking of the awkward posture of lying down just now, Gung Jihue, who felt a bit insulting to the image of a soldier, looked coldly at the electric eel. Wow, just a joke, don't be nervous. The electric eel shrugged nonchalantly. Watching the other person's frivolous and indifferent demeanor, the straightforward ostrich couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. What are you joking about? Do you know this could cause lives? Where's your boss? Let him out, it's best to explain it to us. Looking at the angry ostrich, the electric eel just gave him a strange glance. Sorry, our leader didn't personally come to welcome guests of your level. You. The ostrich took a step forward, but was stopped by Zhuang Yan on the side and said, now take us to see the sea shark. Okay. The electric eel snapped its fingers, and then the military off-road black Humvees behind opened their doors one after another. Gung Jihue's face was very unpleasant as he inspected the vehicle, confirmed its safety, and waved his hand to the group of special operations personnel behind him. Along the way, due to this farce, both sides were not happy and did not have much communication. Only Zhuang Yan became increasingly curious and shocked by the strength of the Sea Shark mercenary armed group. leaving aside the large-scale poppy cultivation area at the airport. Even if it is caught using military license plates in China, it would be a capital offense. However, the Burmese army in northern Myanmar tolerated the arrogance of sea sharks. Looking out the window at the scenery speeding by, in the brilliant golden poppy fields, occasionally women carrying baskets and thin children are harvesting poppies called drugs. Zhuang Yan found that he could no longer understand this magical and absurd land. Hello, guests, please follow the rules and we will soon enter the military restricted area. Bring this with you. And just as Zhuang Yan was lost in thought, a mercenary from the co-pilot suddenly pulled out a few black cloths. Xiao Zhuang, Lao Pao, and Geng Jihui in the car looked at each other suspiciously. Take it with you. Geng Jihui hesitated for a few seconds before quickly sinking his voice. Hundreds of soldiers from Yenghua entered the core hinterland of the Sea Shark armed group with their eyes blindfolded. Strong dragons do not suppress local snakes, even the elite special forces of the army in the Wolf-Tooth Special Operations Brigade must put aside their sharpness here. Buzzing, the car drove smoothly all the way, and after an unknown amount of time, Zhuang Yan, who was blindfolded, felt that the car had finally come to a stop after passing through numerous hidden checkpoints. Can we solve it now? Geng Jihui asked. Whatever. The mercenary ignored him and walked straight down the car door. It can be seen that the members of the Sea Shark mercenary armed group did not show the proper respect towards these distant, Dragon Country guests. Old Pao, have you taken note of it? After removing the black cloth that wrapped around his eyes and looking around, Geng Jihui deliberately lowered his voice and asked. Well, it's about the same. Lao Pao nodded confidently. Even though blindfolded, the veteran scout still relies on his powerful mental calculation and profiling ability. Even when blindfolded, he still remembers the route from the airport to here. Well, once you settle down, immediately draw a map, which may be useful in the future. After Geng Jihui finished speaking, he immediately got off the car. At this moment, a group of convoys left in a grand manner, leaving only Lone Wolf Group B and the cooperative combat troops behind. The buildings and environment here are exactly the same as those in the movies promoting northern Myanmar. Zhuang Yan frowned and looked around. There are cement-stacked buildings here, as well as bamboo houses similar to Cantonese style, located several tens of centimeters above the ground to prevent rainwater from flowing back. But what surprised Zhuang Yan the most was that there were watchtowers in the four corners of the southeast, northwest, and even tanks and armored vehicles patrolling the base. Without a doubt, the deployers of this base have very solid military knowledge. Bastard, there's no one to guide us. What about that white kid? Lao Pao looked around with some resentment. Bang! But just then, a sudden gunshot struck. The distance is very close, maybe just a few yards away. Cooperate with the mobile unit to stand by, Lone Wolf Group B. After speaking, the old cannon made a tactical gesture towards the direction of gunfire. Yes. A group of Lone Wolf B team members nodded. When the members of Lone Wolf Group B approached, they discovered a tall and aloof man in a black field suit full of a cold and fierce aura, pointing a gun at several people. Chapter 5. Lone Wolf Trapped by Lin Xiao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sea Shark. I know I was wrong, please don't kill us. Yeah, we know we're wrong, we're damn it. Please let Sea Shark give us a way out. We have some connections with the Li family of the four major families, please for their sake. In the future, we will definitely follow the lead of the Sea Shark Lord. The three of them knelt on the ground with their hands bound, pleading with Lin Xiao. Because right beside them, there was a man lying in a pool of blood with a hole in his forehead, wide eyes, and a face full of fear. Lin Xiao stood tall and looked down at them with extremely cold eyes. Li family. Humph, isn't that old man a believer in Christianity? So, you should go talk to Jesus about these words. And my task is to send you to meet him. Bang. 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 After 3 shots, the ground was dyed red. Several lone wolf special forces furrowed their brows and instinctively touched their waist. As soldiers, out of professional habits, they cannot see anyone dying in front of them. Stop it, what do you want to do? Gung Jihue lowered his voice and shouted angrily. As a commander, he understands that this is the territory of the sea shark. If they display their weapons, it will definitely cause friction or conflict. Because Gung Jihue clearly felt that since they entered the territory of sea shark, there were many undercover snipers around who had targeted them. Once they show some hostility, they are likely to be wiped out. However, through Lin Xiao's actions, the members of Lone Wolf Group B also understood the severity of the other party's cruelty. Hello, I am Gung Jihue, the highest commander of this operation. After calming down his mind, Gung Jihue crossed the pool of blood without changing his expression and reached out to Lin Xiao to show goodwill. Lin Xiao only glanced at the other person and then nodded lightly. His hands were wiping the splattered blood with a handkerchief, ignoring Gung Jihue's outstretched hand. It seems that you are Lin Xiao. We hope your army can cooperate with us in the next operation to help our country rescue the hostages. This situation will be remembered by Wolf Fang. Gung Jihue acquiesced to Lin Xiao's arrogance and quietly withdrew his hand. Of course, as long as you listen, I guarantee you can all leave alive, Lin Xiao said slowly. But Gung Jihue frowned and recognized the implied meaning. He looked directly at Lin Xiao and said, I'm sorry. We will only obey our command system. Your army does not need to intervene in the tasks we receive, just provide us with the necessary intelligence. The group of special forces behind them also felt a bit angry. Let's follow the command of mercenaries. What a joke. We are experienced special forces soldiers with excellent weapons, equipment, and technical support. You are just a group of rabble, why are you qualified to command us? Perhaps sensing Gung Jihue's inner malice, Lin Xiao was not angry, but instead smiled faintly and said, okay. I'll wish you all the best in advance. Late at night, after arranging the accommodation for Yan Gua and his group. Boss, I have already handed over all the information about the Henry Art Troop to the Yenghua people. The electric eel paused for a moment, then said with some confusion, but boss. According to our intelligence, the Henry Art Troop did not even capture the Yenghua people. I know. Lin Xiao crossed his hands, with a playful curve on his sharp side face, and said meaningfully, that group of Yenghua people. I caught it. What? Upon hearing the leader's words, the electric eel looked incredulous and astonished, boss. Is that from the side of the flame country? Alright, how is the situation on the squid side? Lin Xiao changed the topic and asked. We have already reached an agreement with Minden, but I heard that Minden's younger brother died in Yanguo. Minden has recently recruited strong mercenaries from Bazhou and hired a group of them. The leader seems to be called Old Cat. The electric eel frowned and pondered. Old Cat. Lin Xiao muttered to himself for a moment, the name was too familiar to him. Boss, the Yenghua people haven't said when to take action yet, and judging from their appearance, they seem to be on guard against us. The electric eel changed its tone and hesitated, saying, if they find out that the intelligence is fake, I'm afraid Yenghua won't let us go. If the military of Yenghua joins forces with the 4 major families, the Sea Shark armed group is likely to be in danger. This is not something you should worry about. Yes, boss, then I'll go down first. With a cold sentence from Lin Xiao, the electric eel wisely left the room. Reaching out and unable to see 5 fingers in the deep night. Within the camp of the Sea Shark armed group, all members of the Lone Wolf Group B and its cooperative mobile units have assembled. Timber Wolves, it's 4 o'clock in the morning now. Isn't it too reckless for us to start taking action now? Zhuang Yan wore a special infrared night vision helmet and looked down at his combat watch. When I met with Sea Shark today, I always felt something was wrong. In order to avoid nightmares, I had already communicated with the Chief of Staff. Our superiors issued orders to fight quickly and make a quick decision. After rescuing the hostages, we immediately left northern Myanmar. Gung Jihue's expression was solemn and he pursed his lips. Indeed, not only do we plant marijuana and obtain military license plates, but also the mercenaries we see during the day are all of the same American-style equipment. I also feel that it is not suitable to stay here for a long time, Lao Pao frowned and said slowly. Anyway, we have intelligence provided by the Sea Shark, and the firepower configuration and combat numbers of the Henry Art Troop are clear. With the strength of our Lone Wolf Group B, the battle can be ended in less than an hour. That's right, and the intelligence provided by the Sea Shark to us is absolutely true. The positions of the visible firepower and secret outposts are clearly marked. Besides, they dare not deceive us. Old Cannon, blindfolded. Do you remember the way out during the day? Don't worry, I have already drawn it on paper. Looking at his eager teammates, Xiaozhuang couldn't say anything more when he saw this. Quickly, the group of Lone Wolf B avoided Lin Xiao's patrol troops and left the camp. But at this moment, inside the monitoring room, under the gaze of a group of armed mercenaries, Lin Xiao watched the scene, shaking his red wine glass and playfully lifting a beautiful curve up the corner of his mouth. Yan Guoren. That's too naive. P.S. Old author's new book, do you enjoy reading this genre? The author is very anxious and hopes that everyone can support him, her. Begging for flowers. Seeking evaluation votes. Every bit of support is the author's motivation to code words. Chapter 6. Do the Vietnamese also use Type 95? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chiangzi, are you okay? Almost done, this Hummer is definitely military, even the keyhole is difficult to open. In no time, Lone Wolf Group B had reached the garage of the Sea Shark armed group and stolen more than 10 military off-road Hummers from it. Everyone, get in the car. Gung Jihue waved his hand and, taking advantage of the hazy night, the headlights of more than 10 military Humvees were turned on at the same time, and the engines roared at the same time, driving non-stop away from the mercenaries' hinterland. Ha! I didn't expect it to be so easy. In the car, Lao Pao took off his special helmet and took a long breath. Yeah, this Sea Shark armed group looks very secretive, I didn't expect us to come out so easily. The ostrich looked back excitedly at the Sea Shark camp shrouded in darkness. But only Zhuang Yan remained silent, instead furrowing his brows. They left too easily. I always feel like something's wrong. Did Lin Xiao intentionally let them leave? Everyone check their weapons and ammunition immediately. It's 4:15 now, everyone check their watches. Gung Jihue began to assign combat tasks. Long and relying on the amazing memory of the old cannon, they followed the route of the day and the intelligence location given by Lin Xiao, all the way to the headquarters of the Henry Art Troop. But what Lone Wolf Group B didn't know was that countless pairs of eyes had already been firmly fixed on them in the darkness. Boss, is it that simple to let them go? The electric eel stood straight behind Lin Xiao, watching the speeding convoy in the surveillance footage. Electric eel, go help me with something, Lin Xiao suddenly spoke. Boss, what do you need me to do? The electric eel was taken aback. The shroud bag. Watching the convoy of Yan Guoren leave smoothly and in the right direction, Lin Xiao left the surveillance room. The shroud bag. Only a bewildered electric eel remained, and more than a dozen elite armed mercenaries stood still. Comrades, you are doing something that can make Langya proud. Cross-border combat to rescue our compatriots, this has been Langya's journey since its establishment. On the other hand, after Gung Jihue, the acting leader of Lone Wolf Group B, reported the situation, Fan Tianlei chose to directly participate in the operation command. Coming up is an exciting pre-war mobilization. If it were a rookie, they might feel excited, but Lone Wolf Group B and these guys are all veterans. Fan Tianlei's system has no effect on them at all. Chief of Staff, our location is near 231649 and we are expected to arrive at the Henry Art Troop Camp in 30 minutes. Gung Jihue timely interrupted Fan Tianlei's endless conversation. Timber Wolves, listen, there is a village 2 kilometers away from the Henry Art Troop, which is your must-pass path. Remember not to harm civilians by mistake. The Timber Wolves have received it. Open the full-frequency radio communication channel, I have full command of this operation. Also, if everything goes smoothly, I have booked a flight for you at 11 o'clock, and you will come back together. I, Fan Tianlei, am waiting to drink your celebration wine. Yes. On the other hand, the command center of the Langia Special Operations Brigade of the Southeast Military Region of Yanghua. Fan Tianlei placed his hands on his hips, while a group of personnel from the Electronic Countermeasures Department behind him continuously adjusted the video data. Golden Eagle, based on the intelligence provided by the Sea Shark Mercenaries, Lone Wolf Group B can definitely complete the mission successfully, said the old dog head Gao confidently on the side. Humph, how dare you reach into our country and kidnap our hostages? These armed militants in northern Myanmar are too rampant. Let them teach a lesson this time. Fan Tianlei stared at the electronic warfare screen, and the scene of the convoy of Lone Wolf Group B was also full of conviction. Because he knows that Lone Wolf Group B has this strength. Soon, Lone Wolf Group B will arrive at the Henry Art Troop as scheduled. But on the small path before entering the village, the Lone Wolf Group B, illuminated by the dazzling searchlights ahead, couldn't open their eyes. Forest Wolf, there seems to be a level ahead, Zhuang Yan shouted. Strange, how could a village set up levels? Parking. Gung Jihue frowned. Crunching, after the convoy stopped, 2 armed militants walked straight towards the leading vehicle. This instantly tightened the hearts of Lone Wolf Group B and others. Dong dong dong. Hey! Roll down the car window. The armed militants spoke in rude Burmese, their hands continuously tapping on the car window. Forest Wolf. Zhuang Yan, who was in the passenger seat, instinctively clenched his Type 95 assault rifle in his hand. Lower the car window. Gung Jihue's heart sank. What kind of people are you? The armed militants looked strangely into the car as they looked at a group of people wearing special clothing. We are Henry's friends, the more you talk about mercenaries, Gung Jihue said fluently in Burmese. One of the special courses offered by the Southeast Military Region and Southwest Military Region of Yanghua is to understand and proficiently master the popular languages of neighboring countries. This is one of the compulsory courses. Henry. Oh, the more you mutter, can you even get the Type 95 of the Flame Country? The armed militants joked and immediately shouted behind them, release. Subsequently, the horse-blocking road was opened. The armed militants seemed to have no doubt about their identity, because in this land, not to mention the use of the Type 95 by the Vietnamese, even the M4A1 carbine does not surprise them. Because anything can happen on this land. Thank you. Gung Jihue nodded at the other party without changing his expression. Good luck to you all. The armed militants waved their hands and signaled for them to leave. Let's go. Gung Jihue shouted to the driver Ostrich. But after the vehicle passed by, the armed man casually glanced at the license plate and immediately became nervous. He secretly grabbed the communicator at the collar, it's a Sea Shark. The people from the Sea Shark have come in. Chapter 7. Change. Lone Wolf Group B is under attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ha! I thought there was something going on. Don't worry, these Burmese people have such simple brains. They were easily fooled by forest wolves. After driving for about 10 minutes, the ostrich took control of the steering wheel and breathed a long sigh of relief. Don't let your guard down. Forest Wolf Gung Jihui immediately turned on the radio and adjusted to channel 1. Attention everyone, attention everyone. Using flares as signals, no need to ask for permission. I allow you to hunt freely, and all troops will open fire at the same time when they discover the target. The assault team has received it, over. Received by 2 groups. The blasting team has received it. Mobile Team 1 received, completed. Mobile Team 2 received, ensuring completion of the mission. After confirming that each unit had received the order, Gung Jihui was about to speak when his body suddenly leaned forward. Crunching, ostrich. What are you doing? Gung Jihui was a little angry. Timber wolves, there seems to be a child crying. The ostrich pointed in surprise. Child. Gung Jihui muttered in confusion and looked in the direction of the ostrich's finger. About 5 meters in front of the car, a 7 or 8-year-old child was sitting on the ground crying. Siberian wolves. Gung Jihui gave Xiao Zhuang a glance. Zhuang Yan opened the door and immediately got off to check. Woo-woo. But when Zhuang Yan got off the car and got closer, he noticed that the boy's leg seemed to be bleeding. You, what's wrong with you? Zhuang Yan was surprised, but then he saw the boy wrapped in black rope-like things all the way to his waist. Zhuang Yan is too familiar with things detonator. The boy is wrapped around a bomb behind his back. Quick. Step back. Zhuang Yan was startled and immediately turned around to roar at the convoy, while his body suddenly pounced in the opposite direction to the boy. Siberian wolves, what happened? The ostrich in the car was still puzzled, but then suddenly an explosion hit. Boom. The vehicle led by Xiao Zhuang was directly lifted off by a violent shockwave, and the boulder on the side acted as a cover, fortunately surviving. Cough. Gung Jihui and his companions struggled to get out of the car, fortunately only suffering some scratches. And the boy had already been blown to pieces and splattered with blood and flesh, and the air was filled with a pungent smell of blood mixed with smoke. Damn it, these bastards don't even let go of their children. Seeing this scene before him, the sense of justice as a soldier made Lao Pao grit his teeth and turn pale with iron. We're exposed, withdraw quickly. Gung Jihui was the first to react, and out of intuitive sensitivity, he immediately knew that the operation had failed. But they have already been ambushed on both sides of the path, and the armed members of the Henry Art Troop will not let them go. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, both sides fired at the same time, and at the back of the convoy, some of the mobile cooperative troops who heard the sound of the explosion and got off without knowing were hit. Poo-poo poo-poo. In the open area, they were living targets, and such dense firepower instantly turned several people into sieves. Nearly 50 armed militants densely packed the slopes on both sides opened fire together, and for a moment, the night seemed like daylight. Quick. Cross screen. Faced with a sudden attack, the soldiers of Lone Wolf Group B took the most effective countermeasures, and in an instant, the two sides entered a heated exchange of fire. Bang bang bang. Da-da-da. The ostrich used a portable light machine gun to hit the enemies ambushed on both sides head-on, while shouting at Gung Jihui, Timberwolves. Think of a way. And with the tacit cooperation of Gung Jihui, Zhuang Yan, and Lao Pao, the 5 nearest mercenaries were instantly killed. Quick. Everyone rely on cover to fight back. Try to shorten the distance, the blasting team has firepower coverage, and the assault team follows me. Open the gap and retreat, don't be too eager to fight. Speaking, Gung Jihui gritted his teeth and threw out an M3 lightweight grenade. Boom. As several armed militants were blown into blood mist, taking advantage of this gap, several comm members of the Lone Wolf B group quickly climbed onto the car and started the engine. The convoy made sharp turns one by one and stopped on the side of the hill as a cover. Brothers, kill them. The boss said, a head of a sea shark rewards 50,000. On the hillside, armed thugs who had already killed the red-eyed ones showed greedy gazes at the group of lambs waiting to be slaughtered. "Bastard, Siberian wolf, can you take him down?" Gung Jihue was panting heavily, looking at the armed militants who had just shouted. "No, the field of view is too poor and the distance is too close. At this point, the advantage of sniping cannot be fully utilized." Zhuang Yan's expression was solemn, but he seemed to have thought of something. He immediately added an auxiliary scope to the Type 95 assault rifle. "You." Gung Jihue was stunned for a moment. It should be noted that auxiliary sights are only used in situations where the rifling is damaged, the barrel is deformed due to overheating or other reasons. If installed without damage to the firearm, although accuracy will be improved, shooting performance will be greatly reduced. For example, if you are aiming at an embroidery needle and the scope is locked, but there may be slight deviations in the trajectory, the most uncertain factor is the sniper failure caused by auxiliary equipment despite good aiming. Although the special forces will specifically focus on strengthening this drawback, in actual combat, few people will use this tactic. Of course, this only applies to ordinary snipers. And Zhuang Yan, he is an exception. Chapter 8. The Retreating Lone Wolf, Cowardly Behavior. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Timber wolves, give it to me, and you command the troops to break through immediately. Zhuang Yan remained unusually calm, skillfully dismantling and installing, and immediately searched for the best shooting position. Bang! 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 After adjusting the Type 95 from a triple shot to a single shot, Zhuang Yan's powerful shooting talent was demonstrated, with precise point shots targeting targets including the leader who had just shouted, and two armed militants beside him were instantly killed. Good job! Gung Jihue shouted excitedly and immediately ran towards the middle of the convoy. At this time, the command center of the Wolf Fong Special Operations Brigade. Report to the Chief of Staff. It's not good, there's an accident. An electronic communicator suddenly stood up, inspiring everyone in the command center. What's wrong? At this moment, Fan Tianlei was studying how to write the post-war report and immediately rushed to the electronic warfare screen. In the video, which was divided into countless small pieces, Lone Wolf Group B and the Mobile Alliance were engaged in fierce combat with the enemy. Well, this hasn't arrived at the camp of the Henry Art Troop yet. Who are the Timber Wolves fighting with? Fan Tianlei's weathered old face froze. Because from the video footage, it can be seen that the loss of combat personnel in the Mobile Alliance is the most severe, and the number of personnel is rapidly decreasing. Moreover, armed forces continue to emerge from the hillside. According to the report, our troops were attacked on a small path with around 100 enemy personnel, most of whom were AK.47 automatic rifles, shotguns, unknown numbers of light and heavy machine guns, a small number of unknown models of single-shoulder rocket launchers, and... I didn't ask you this. Faced with the report from the electronic soldier, Fan Tianlei impatiently interrupted, I'm asking you. How could they have been attacked in this place? How exposed? Faced with Fan Tianlei's rebuke, the electronic communication soldier lowered his head. Damn it! Seeing this, Fan Tianlei angrily punched the table. After calming down for a few seconds, he quickly picked up the walkie-talkie and said, Hey, Forest Wolf, I'm the Golden Eagle, I'm the Golden Eagle. How's the situation at the scene? Hello. Hello. But no matter how Fan Tianlei shouted at this moment, the other party did not respond. Chief of Staff, we must immediately notify the Burmese side for support. If this continues, there is a high possibility that the Lone Wolf Group B will be completely destroyed. Good Lao Gao was also anxious. This is his legitimate lineage, and the Lone Wolf Assault Team consists of 3 groups, A, B, and C, each of which is a backbone. No, this is already a classified military operation, so don't worry about the high school team, Fan Tianlei refused. But, Chief of Staff, Zhuang Yan and the others. Good Lao Gao was taken aback, still wanting to refute. Colonel, return to your position. I am the highest commander for this operation, and I am responsible for any issues. Fan Tianlei turned his back and looked at the screen with a gloomy expression. At this point, the only option is to trust them. I believe they are all good people and can definitely overcome difficulties. Our Wolf Fang warriors will definitely be invincible in battle. Upon hearing this, Good Lao Gao clenched his fist. Can such a sentence alone make our soldiers charge into battle and let them sacrifice for nothing? Good Lao Gao gave Fan Tianlei a deep glance. He really wants to punch this old guy hard now. However, the army has strict discipline, and now the wolf head He Jijun is not here, and there is currently no deputy brigade commander in the Special Operations Brigade, so Fan Tianlei is the highest commander of Wolf Fang. Not to mention the fact that a high-ranking official crushed people to death. After careful consideration, Gao Dazhuang still held back. The entire command center was silent, and everyone dared not breathe, just staring tightly at the electronic screen. Bang bang bang. Da da da. At this moment, the enemies rushing to support on the slopes of both sides began to converge and gradually launched a blockade. High to low had a natural advantage, coupled with sudden attacks and light and heavy firepower coordination. With nearly 100 armed forces, the scale of the war quickly tilted towards the side of the armed elements. Chief, move Group 1 and Group 2 to cover you. Special forces should withdraw first, a lieutenant quickly said. No, we need to walk together. If we need cover, it's also my assault team's cover. Gung Jihui naturally refused this cowardly behavior. Commander, they're about to come over. You're not leaving now. You won't be able to leave in a while. If we can't leave, let's stay here together. We need to let them know that soldiers from Yengua have never been cowards who can escape. Gung Jihui, with the pride of a special forces soldier, how could he let mobile infantry cover for him? Oh my leader. Now we can't just consider ourselves. We came with a mission. This is the first battle of Wolf Fang overseas. Do you want us Wolf Fang to become a laughing stock? The lieutenant's words immediately hit the softest part of Gung Jihui's heart. Yes. Upon hearing this, Gung Jihui hesitated. Quick, brothers, come with me. Watching Gung Jihui's face show hesitation, the lieutenant gave him a push. Subsequently, he ordered 2 mobile units to escort the special forces behind him and slowly withdraw. But the cost is. The mobile cooperative experienced rapid casualties among the troops. Timber wolves. We can't just run like this and leave them here as abandoned children. I'd rather die here. The ostrich looked at the constantly falling figure, its eyes turning red, and roared out in an instant. Timas all leave for me. Do you want to see them sacrifice for nothing? It doesn't matter if we die, but have you ever thought about it? Wolf Fang will be ashamed of our actions this time. I assure you, we will definitely eradicate the Henry Art Troop. But not now. Gung Jihui grabbed the almost insane ostrich collar and spat at the ostrich's face. As a soldier, especially a special forces soldier, Gung Jihui will never engage in desertion behavior. But as a commander, he must consider the overall situation. The ostrich's obvious body shook for a moment, and after a moment, he fiercely shook off Gung Jihui, glanced at the battlefield again, and suddenly fell silent and retreated. Everyone, retain your living strength, break through a gap, and retreat immediately. Gung Jihui saw this and immediately ordered everyone. But Zhuang Yan and Lao Pao exchanged a glance. They turned back while the troops were in chaos. At this point, the mobile forces were already less than 20 people, and the armed militants were less than 100 meters away from them. Siberian Wolf, do you have a way? Lao Pao's gaze was anxious. Zhuang Yan frowned tightly and was also searching for the fighter jet. The armed militants have an advantage in terrain and numbers, and even if they charge down now, they will still be killed. Lao Pao, I have a solution. But suddenly, Zhuang Yan's eyes lit up. He saw the Hummer off-road vehicle being engulfed by gunfire and burning. Chapter 9. The Lone Wolf Lowers Its Noble Head. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. I understand, do you want to detonate the fuel tank? Lao Pao and Xiao Zhuang were also old partners who went through life and death, and immediately understood each other's intentions. Well, but I need large-caliber bullets, preferably anti-material sniper rifles, otherwise I'm not sure. Zhuang Yan pursed his lips. But this time he is carrying a Type 88 sniper rifle with a caliber of 5.8 mm, which is definitely not suitable. Lao Pao took on the role of an assault rifle this time, so he did not carry a sniper rifle, let alone using the same Type 88 as him. Where can I find a large-caliber sniper rifle now? In my impression, the sniper rifle equipped with the Timberwolves is the AMR.2 non-automatic sniper rifle. Although it is not an anti-material sniper rifle, the 12.7 mm sniper bullet is enough to detonate fuel tanks and any small destructive targets. Zhuang Yan regretted not taking the opportunity to take his gun when he just left. But at that time, it was estimated that the forest wolf would not give it to him either. What should we do? At this moment, there were only the two of them, and Zhuang Yan suddenly felt a bit powerless to adapt. Pop. But at this moment, suddenly a sniper backpack was thrown in front of Zhuang Yan. What? Zhuang Yan was taken aback. The familiar jungle camouflage with green patterns happened to be Timberwolves. How did you come back? What about the others? Lao Pao turned around, looking surprised and amazed. Led by Geng Jihui, all members of Lone Wolf Group B were present. I have ordered the retreating special forces to wait for us in a safe location. Siberian Wolf, Old Cannon, you two fight on the battlefield. I can shoot you at any time, you know. Geng Jihui's face stiffened for a moment, but suddenly relaxed the next second, but after thinking about it, I realized that the Grand Lone Wolf Group be left in such a gloomy state, even if the mission was completed and they returned home, it would not be honorable. The arrogant Lone Wolf Group B won't let anyone block our bullets. If we want to leave, let's go together. So, I have already entrusted the task to the retreating special forces, as for us lone wolves. Speaking of which, Geng Jihui looked at the distant battlefield with a sharp and murderous look in his eyes, oath to coexist with the battlefield. Upon hearing this, Zhuang Yan smiled, and Lao Pao also smiled. The other members of Lone Wolf Group B also laughed. Alright, I'm not a commander without human touch, I should be shot by the soldiers' black guns. Zhuang Yan, your plan just now was very reasonable. You are the best sniper in Group B or even the entire Lone Wolf assault team. Here. Speaking, Geng Jihui took out the AMR.2 sniper rifle from his bag. Zhuang Yan nodded and took it seriously. During their brief conversation, many armed militants had approached the convoy to clear the remaining Yenghua mobile infantry. To avoid accidental injury to the greatest extent possible, Geng Jihui cautioned with caution. Don't worry. Zhuang Yan held his breath and turned the scope. No one wants to harm their comrades. Bang! And between the lightning and fire, Zhuang Yan decisively pulled the trigger. A large-caliber sniper shell with a diameter of 12.7 mm swept through the howling cold wind and aimed directly at the crowd. Boom! With a earth-shattering explosion, the off-road vehicle was blasted several meters into the air by a violent shockwave, and debris scattered all over the ground. More than 10 armed militants were engulfed by flames and instantly buried in the sea of fire. Damn it! There's someone over there. The armed militants were terrified, but when they found out, it was already too late. Bang! 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 Zhuang Yan gradually detonated the fuel tanks of off-road vehicles, causing widespread casualties, while the combat zone had already become a sea of fire. Lone Wolf Group B, attack. At this moment, Gung Jihui also issued an attack command. Yes. Everyone is installing a bayonet at the port of the Type 95 assault rifle at the same time. The beheading raid is the true meaning behind the existence of special forces. The remaining armed elements were quickly eliminated by the amazing combat power demonstrated by the Lone Wolf B group, and all the stubborn resistance in the corner were slaughtered. Say, who sent you here? The old cannon pressed a military knife against the dark neck of a militant. No, don't kill me, it was Lord Henry who sent us. The armed man's eyes were flustered and his body trembled. How did you discover us? Did Sea Shark tell you our whereabouts? Zhuang Yan said with a condensed expression. He confirmed. This operation failed. It's definitely related to Lin Xiao. Because since they could easily leave the Sea Shark base, Zhuang Yan felt something suspicious. No, we are enemies of the Sea Shark mercenary armed group. How could he reveal intelligence to us? The armed man trembled and didn't seem to be lying at all. What? Upon hearing this unexpected answer, Zhuang Yan looked at Gung Jihui with astonishment. How did you know about our operation? Lao Pao frowned and asked in a deep voice. Yes. License plate number. We have failed many assassination attempts, almost remembering what kind of off-road vehicle Sea Shark would ride on. The first one was Sea Shark's vehicle. The armed militants pointed to the military Humvee that Gung Jihui and Zhuang Yan had been riding on before. Upon hearing this, Zhuang Yan fell silent. The failure of this operation turned out to be their own fault. If a person is unlucky, even if they drink cold water, who would have thought that so many people would be sacrificed because of a small license plate number? Just as the members of Lone Wolf Group B were silent, the armed militants suddenly showed their fierce intent to seize the firearm of the old cannon. Bang! Gung Jihui was quick-witted and shot to death. Timber wolves, what should we do now? What else can we do? Let's go back to the Sea Shark armed group. Looking at the sea of fire in front of us. Gung Jihui's expression was very complicated. I'm afraid I won't be able to lift my head and be a good person in front of Lin Xiao this time. Chapter 10. Angry Lone Wolf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even though they successfully rescued the mobile unit and annihilated nearly 100 armed militants, their tactical goal this time was to rescue their own country's hostages. To evaluate the value of a special forces force, the first thing is not to look at the battle damage ratio or how many enemies have been annihilated. Their significance lies in strategic considerations. Obviously, this operation failed completely. Driving several intact off-road vehicles, the members of Lonely Wolf Group B remained very silent all the way. But in the car, there were constant bad news coming. The lieutenant, the captain of the mobile cooperative unit, ultimately died due to excessive blood loss. Many soldiers also sacrificed themselves because they did not receive timely treatment. The mobile unit successfully covered up the evacuation of Zhuang Yan and his special forces at a tragic cost. But their souls remain forever in northern Myanmar. Buzzing, as the car drove back to the campsite, huge searchlights suddenly lit up. The campsite, covering an area of over 1,000 square meters, felt like daylight for a moment. Boss, the people of Yen country are back. The electric eel looked at the broken convoy with a playful expression. Pop. Lin Xiao lit a cigarette comfortably, with elite mercenaries guarding behind him and on both sides for several tens of meters. Xiao Zhuang, first bring down the bodies of the deceased soldiers. Gung Jihui frowned as he looked at the man in front of him so leisurely. And he also guessed that Lin Xiao would be waiting for them here. Sea Shark, the command was given by me. If you have any responsibility, you can come to me. Gung Jihui's expression was serious. Stealing so many of our cars and sneaking out of the camp, this account should be carefully calculated. Lin Xiao had a smile on his lips, but the sharpness in his gaze towards Gung Jihui couldn't be concealed. a car costs 500,000 US dollars. What? You? Gung Jihue was about to get angry, but when he saw countless fully armed mercenaries around him, he held back. A $500,000 Hummer car, Sea Shark, you guys are too bullied, right? But the upright ostrich behind him spoke up. Lin Xiao shook his head slowly and sighed, cars are not worth anything. What's valuable is the license plate. Do you know how much it costs to get a license plate for the Burmese North Army by going through connections? Listening to Lin Xiao's low voice questioning, Gung Jihue clenched his fists but could not refute. Yes. They were originally at fault first. Even if Lin Xiao and the lion speak loudly, they have no choice. I will apply to my superiors for the money and give it to you as soon as possible. Gung Jihue nodded. Not bad, it's a bit of the backbone of a soldier from the Flame Country, Lin Xiao nodded in agreement. But I have one condition. Gung Jihue turned around and looked at the bodies that had been removed one after another from the car, his expression somewhat moved. No one can negotiate terms with me, Lin Xiao replied coldly. The old saying of Yen Guogua is peace in the land. Send us brothers back to our country. They cannot stay here, their families are waiting for him. Gung Jihue ignored Lin Xiao's warning and still expressed his demands. And Lin Xiao just watched Gung Jihue quietly without saying anything. The air seems to be solidifying at this moment. Lin Xiao, I owe you a favor. The information shows that you are also from Yen country. For the sake of being a fellow countryman, please. Suddenly, Gung Jihue bowed deeply to Lin Xiao. Unfortunately, the intelligence obtained by Fan Tianlei is fake. Lin Xiao is indeed from Yenhua, but besides the code name, he even got the basic information wrong. Sea Shark, you have great powers and will definitely find a way to send them back to the Flame Country. Not only does the Forest Wolf owe you a favor, but our entire Lone Wolf Group B owes you a favor. Behind him, Zhuang Yan couldn't help but shout out. Seeing this scene, Lin Xiao narrowed his eyes slightly and said, Electric Eel. Yes, boss. Immediately after, the Electric Eel ordered several white mercenaries to take out a pile of black body bags from the warehouse. When they saw this scene, all members of Lone Wolf Group B were shocked. Lin Xiao, you knew we would fail and come back, right? Gung Jihue became angry, and as soon as he saw the shroud bag, he understood everything. Why can they easily leave the camp? Why did Lin Xiao prepare a battle to welcome them when they returned? So, the man in front of me had already planned everything. I've said it before. If you obey my command, what's in the shroud bag now should be the body of the Henry Art Troupe. Lin Xiao, who was exposed, showed no concern at all. Why? Why are you sure we'll be ambushed? Lao Pao suppressed his anger and glared fiercely at Lin Xiao. It's very simple. Lin Xiao smiled and said, because of you. Stupid enough. Upon hearing this, Lao Pao was stunned for a moment and frowned in amazement. Do you think leaving my camp will make everything okay? To be honest with you. Lin Xiao stood up, dressed in a black field uniform filled with a cold and fierce aura, and spoke coldly to the lone wolf crowd from a high position. My secret guard has already reported to me since you left the camp. Are you glad you avoided my patrol? Humph, my people are not rascals, that's why I asked them to intentionally let you go. Lin Xiao paused and then said, of course, I don't deny that there are people in your army with extremely strong profiling abilities. For example, one can use memory to draw every turn and distance traveled by a car while obstructing the line of sight. Or, by the sound of the lock cylinder turning, I can pry open my dozen or so cars. Speaking of which, Lao Pao and the ostrich unconsciously moved their bodies. That's right, the picture drawn by Lao Pao, the car pried by an ostrich. But you were wrong. Lin Xiao looked up at the pitch-black sky and said, I blindfolded you during the day not because I was afraid of you remembering the route of the Sea Shark armed group, because it was not a secret at all. I'm afraid you'll have sympathy. What? A compassionate heart. When hearing Lin Xiao's words, all members of Lone Wolf Group B looked at him in confusion at the same time. P.S. The author is very anxious when I see the current grades of this book. When I see dozens of new flowers added, I will update another chapter because the data is too poor now. Your support is really my motivation for coding. I hope brothers can support me more.